Welcome, Beans Army, to another episode of the Less is More Sports podcast, the college off-season podcast, where you could say we're less of the regular season, but more of the off-season. I feel like that's not catching on anytime soon.
No, it's not.
Well, any reason why? I feel like it's so catchy.
It is kind of catchy, but there's just a lot of words. You know what
Well,
I'm
I don't think there's a kind of about it. I think it's very catchy,
Oh
sir.
my
Excuse me, sir.
it's got
I
too
am
many
tired.
words.
I'm tired of the attitude. We are like not even 5 minutes into this episode, and you're already giving me attitude. I don't like it.
Well, you know what? I can leave.
Okay. So, anyways, well, dang it. Actually, that kind of messes things up because I was going to ask Matt, because today's topic, Matt and I feel very differently about. So I guess I can't really ask Matt now. That's depressing. Oh, he's back. So it
Hi.
has come to my attention that Matt and I feel very differently about today's topic. So, Matt, what are your thoughts on spring games for college football?
I didn't watch a second of them, and I feel no remorse. I mean, to me, I get the point. Is to like make the fan. It's like it's big blue madness, but it's hard to do a sport like it's hard to do that with football. Let's be honest. Anytime you put on football and pads, you're risking somebody's going to get hit a little bit too hard. Somebody's going to get hurt. So I mean, I get what they're going for, but it's just silly to me. I mean, it's interesting to see like freshmen play, but I mean, it's not even like the NFL where you're playing against another team. I don't watch the NFL preseason except for a few Colts games because they're usually on when I'm bored out of my mind. I don't really watch a lot of the NFL preseason for the same reason. There's just not a lot to see. You're seeing guys who probably aren't going to play much when it really matters. Who, and in the case of college, they're not even really playing for a roster spot. They're not going to get cut. Usually, these guys are scholarship players who are just out there competing for the first time. I get that the point is to rile up the fans, and I've got a list of things that I did like about this weekend that I think are just flat out hilarious or really cool because you can get away with it during a game that's incredibly meaningless like this. But I just don't get it, but that's probably because I'm not in a football area. Why this is so exciting? Because it's just like, oh wow, I'm watching glorified flag football with like guys who are not going to play but 3 snaps against whenever they play Southeastern Missouri State in week 2, and they're up 52-10 or something like that. So for me, it's just that I get what the point is. The point is to rile the fans up, make a little bit of money, show off your big fancy everything, your new car and stuff, if you will, the shiny new diamonds. But overall, it's just not that impactful to me. I mean, what are you going to learn from a spring game that you didn't already know 2 weeks before? I mean, you can maybe be like, oh, the defense. It's just the NFL preseason, but with extra steps. And so I like occasional highlights where like some guy with one hand goes up, catches the ball with one hand against the helmet. But to me, it's just the problem is it's just like the NFL preseason with a smaller sample size. You just don't really learn anything from it.
I disagree because outside of the fact that September is the greatest month of the year because it's my birthday month. I think it's our first look at our favorite college teams so we don't have to wait until September. And of course, as you know, I was checking out Duke and Texas. Bean, stop licking my hands, dude. Um, he's gonna make his presence felt today. I mean, he woke up and chose violence. But anyways, no, of course, I was wanting to. I think it was exciting for me because I wanted to get a first hand look at like how teams are gonna look before we head into the regular season, and so that we don't have to wait all the way to September. It gives us something to talk about, some kind of substance to kind of keep us on the edge of our seat before then. And of
Mhm.
course, I'm watching Duke and Texas, see how they looked. I have a gut feeling we're going to talk about the quarterback situation at some point in this podcast, just a feeling. But I want to add though that Texas is absolutely loaded at offensive skill position. I'm just going to leave it there. And then defensively, outside of our starters, our second stringers on down could improve some tackling technique. But other than that, I'm really happy from what I saw. As for Duke, we better give Mike Elko whatever the hell he wants. All I'm going to say. We got to give Mike Elko whatever the hell he wants because with how good this team looks right now, I have a feeling he's not going to be in Durham very long. This is the best that the defensive line has looked since I've been a Duke fan. And they look like they have a legit chance to play for the ACC championship. Yes, Duke football I'm talking about, not basketball, football. I mean,
Which division are they in?
they're in the Coastal, but they were in the Coastal. They went away with divisions this year.
Oh, that's right. So I guess it just depends on who they play.
Yeah, just depends on what. Bean, do not fall off the table. I don't know what you're doing.
He's falling off the table. That's what he's doing.
He caught himself. So I mean, he's showing kind of some grace like a football wide receiver right now.
Balance
If only the
beam.
fans could see it.
Balance beam.
Balance Bean. Hey, that's a new one. That could be his new nickname.
He's doing his floor routine.
He's very good at it, by the way. I know the YouTube fans can't see it right now, but anyways, yes. So that's what I saw from my two teams. And I'm going to be honest though, I'm not usually one. Matt's going to disagree with the statement, but I'm not usually one to live too much in the moment. I was expecting Matt to disagree with that statement.
I'm waiting for the whole thing to develop before I just thrash you.
But is it just me, or did I feel like there was more of a trend that there was more quarterback battles this year than in years past?
No, I would agree with that one. Yeah, you're not going to get shredded for that one.
Yeah, because I feel like whether it be through the transfer portal, whether it be some experienced guys, leaving, I just felt like there were so many quarterback battles that, aren't normally there this time of year. There's quarterback battles every year. But I feel like there was so many this year that it was almost an exciting element of the spring game in its own right that we aren't normally talking about to this degree. So I guess that's going to lead into our very first official question of the podcast. Matt, what quarterback battles are you intrigued with?
I mean, the obvious one is Texas. And, Les, this is a little bit of our sentimentality, not just for Texas, but also for the family name of Manning going on here. I think we're forgetting, too, with the way Texas' season played out last year. But I still wholeheartedly believe that if Ewers finishes that game against Alabama, that Texas probably goes on to win, just with the way he was playing. And then, of course, we had the Hudson Card experience for the rest of the year. I think he's that good. But anytime you drag in the family name Manning into that situation, you're gonna get a lot of eyeballs on that situation. Whether it's the NIL money, whether it's the can he live up to the expectations of his uncles and grandfather, all that stuff. It's just intriguing in a lot of ways because like you said, Texas is loaded at their skill positions. They've got a lot of guys who are ready to go. They've already got Ewers who's ready to go again after coming off an injury. I think he's due for a bounce back season like that we don't even anticipate happening. What I mean by that is I don't think we're ready for like his comeback season. I think he's going to be on a tear. But in the back of your mind, you're always going to be thinking about like, oh crap, Arch Manning's on this roster. He's got Manning blood. He is part of the bloodline. Something like that. Even if
I know
he
we
doesn't
talked
start
about wrestling last podcast, but this isn't Roman Reigns and the Rock style stuff. Come on, man.
No,
I had to throw that joke in there.
No, this isn't. And but the point is, anytime let's say for example, he struggles this year against certain good teams. There's going to be a lot of clamoring there when it comes because you may have a certified property at backup, for lack of a better term, with the NIL that he's getting in Arch Manning. So that one's really intriguing to me. I'm intrigued by what Georgia might do and what I was intrigued by what Georgia might do. I'm interested to see too how Tennessee uses Milton to replace the is it Milton or Hilton? I wrote it down and I forgot. Milton, Joe Milton.
Joe Milton, yeah.
I'm interested to see too. It's not really a controversy, but I'm just interested to see how he fills the shoes left by Hendon Hooker there too, because that was a great narrative, a big storyline throughout the college football season was Tennessee's rise and subsequent fall due to injury, and I'm excited to see what Joe Milton can do for Tennessee going forward. But the big one, and it's going to be throughout the year simply because of name brand recognition, is going to be Texas with Ewers and Manning because I don't think they lose either way here, especially with an offense that loaded.
So, as the Texas fan that watched the Texas spring game, if the season started tomorrow, the quarterback depth chart is Quinn Ewers at quarterback 1, Malik Murphy at quarterback 2, and Arch Manning at QB3. Because Quinn Ewers showed that another year in the Sarkisian Kyle Flood offense, he's got the keys. It's going to be his season, and he's going to be out to prove a lot of doubters wrong. Malik Murphy is really who put a lot of people on notice. He made some big-time throws, and he really set a bar for himself that if he doesn't maybe get some playing time within the next year or so, he could very well transfer and be another very good quarterback that has left the program to join the likes of guys like Cam Rising, who we've seen at Utah the last couple of years. But Arch Manning, and I'm going to be completely honest, because I've been seeing nothing but criticism from Arch Manning because he did have some struggles, which I expect to see. But people have to remember, he's a 17-year-old who just graduated from high school a couple months ago, and he doesn't have that much time with the team. He's still learning everybody, and he looked like a guy who is going to have growing pains, which I expected to have. But I'm going to be completely honest. As much as I saw that he could improve on, I saw just as much that has me excited. His pocket footwork, I don't even know if his uncles have as good a pocket footwork as he has. There was one play in particular where Anthony Hill was rushing off the edge, and Arch Manning just kind of stepped back and then moved up and then moved back up into the pocket. And then, he had Ant Hill just blowing right by him like he didn't know what to do. And Ant Hill was honestly my favorite recruit in this class. I think he's super, super talented linebacker. But no, Arch Manning is going to need time, but the absolute what's the word I'm looking for? The absolute why am I blanking on words right now? But the criticism that he's getting is just absolutely unwarranted, because I understand that that's going to come with the Manning name, with the Manning brand, and the hype that comes along with being Manning. And when you're that good and you come from that bloodline, like as Matt alluded to, people are going to look for reasons to bring you down in any kind of way. They're going to look for anything for you to slip up and be like, you're not as good. You're only here because your last name's Manning. Look, I'm going to be completely honest. I've been following recruiting a long time. I cannot tell you a player that has jumped up to the degree that people are claiming Arch Manning has jumped up just due off their name alone. I'm watching the EYBL with Kion Anthony. I'm looking at Bronny James, all these guys that are sons of great pro players, none of which are elevated to the status that Arch Manning is. So in my opinion, there obviously is some validity to his game. And I watched him throughout his high school career at Isidore Newman. I was impressed. I look at some of the things he does in the camp and some of the things he's done in practice. I'm impressed. He just needs time to get to know his teammates. He just needs time to get to know the system. He's going to be fine. But no, I think anybody who had Arch Manning starting this year, realistically, was just out of their mind. The Heisman odds makers in Vegas who had Arch Manning as like the fifth or seventh best odds, that was just ridiculous. That was stupid. Let's be completely honest. That was just stupid. This is Quinn Ewers' team for the time being. It's going to be Quinn Ewers' team this season. I expect him to have a very big year, and I expect Arch to eventually settle in when the time is right. It's just not right now. But As for Georgia, because I know you said Georgia, also watched their spring game. I'm going to tell you, dude, Carson Beck looks like a surgeon. Like, he was just absolutely picking apart that very good Georgia defense. I know they lost a very key name, which we'll talk about probably here in a little bit, but that's still going to be a very good Georgia defense. That's still a Kirby Smart coach team. They're going to be able to defend. Bean, if you don't stop licking me, dude, he is just trying to steal the show.
He's a licking machine.
He is a licking machine. He wants to have all my attention right now. It's like, dude, I'm trying to do an episode. Oh, there he is.
There he is.
But no, Carson Beck is going to be the starter. He looks like an absolute gem of a pocket passer. I know Brock Vandergriff was a very talented prospect that was also rumored to get some reps with the first team, but it looks like he's not going to be a part of that equation, because after the spring game and Carson Beck's really good showing, he also was on record saying that he is uncertain about his career with Georgia. So that's quarterback. I know just because you said Georgia, that is the situation just what I've been able to see. But I'm going to be honest, the quarterback battle that I was the most intrigued with, going to shock the world because it wasn't Texas, was Ole Miss. Because if you remember, that was that really weird situation where they already had a starting caliber quarterback in Jackson Dart, who, fun fact, I had his high school teammate on this podcast a couple years ago, back when he was at Corner Canyon, Jackson Powers Johnson, who is the starting center at Oregon right now. Shout out to Jackson. You're an awesome guy. But Jackson as if they're both named Jackson. That's going to get confusing. But
That's gonna be
Jackson
confusing.
Dart last season, I mean, went 8-5 as a starter, threw for 3,000 yards, added another 614 on the ground and had 21 total touchdowns. It seemed like they had their guy. Pretty solid season, honestly. But then, of course, you get Walker Howard from LSU to transfer in, and that's already kind of eye-raising enough because Walker Howard wasn't getting any time at LSU. But then what made it even weirder is that they got Spencer Sanders to transfer in, a guy that's been a 4-year starter at Oklahoma State. That was a little bit surprising to me.
Yeah, I didn't get that from the beginning either.
But I mean, don't get me wrong, as a Texas fan, I'm glad that we don't have to go against him anymore. But
Right.
at the same time, he was a 4-year starter at Oklahoma State, 10,000 yards, 85 total touchdown. Guy's a baller. Guy's a playmaker. So I was kind of – I guess you don't really make that move unless you know you're going to be the starter. But with Walker Howard and having Jackson Dart there, I mean, it kind of begs the question, like, what kind of was going on there? So – but as for me, I still think it should be Spencer Sanders. I think he's the most dynamic of the bunch. I think if you put him in a Lane Kiffin offense, it's going to be hotty-toddy all season. So, but another underrated move that I was looking at was the Florida quarterback battle. And brace yourself, man. I might have a little bit of a hot take for you here in a minute. So I'm going to be honest, watching that spring game, Billy Napier's got that program hopping. I mean, that game was intense. It came down to a game-winning field goal. But I was really intrigued with the quarterback battle between former Wisconsin quarterback Graham Mertz and former Ohio State backup quarterback Jack Miller, who, of course, transferred before the beginning of last season. I liked Mertz at Wisconsin personally, and I thought he could get into a system that really opened up his arm. I thought he'd do really well. But I'm going to be completely honest. Jack Miller impressed me. I mean, let me know if I'm crazy, but like, Matt, have we seen this before? Former Buckeye transferring to a middle-of-the-road SEC team, second year with the program with a fairly new head coach, still looking for that prove-yourself moment, and also started the previous bowl game and had a forgettable performance. So I guess my question is, if Jack Miller wins this job and goes out and does well, are you going to be surprised if he starts getting Joe Burrow comparisons? I mean, my bad, not Joe Burrow, Mr. Joe Shiesty, Joe Burr himself.
Well, I can't do that. Oh man, Les, I think that LSU team was just so once in a lifetime. The narrative will be dissimilar, but the results will not be the same. He could be really good. He could ball out, but nobody is going to be as good as that 2019 LSU offense, unless Justin Jefferson clones himself and sends himself to Florida, which I don't think is possible. But if it is, that would be great. Unless that happens, I don't really think so. I mean, I think he can have a good year. I think he can have a great year, but we're talking about one of the definitive seasons, moments, personalities, etc. in college football history, especially in recent memory. So I'm a little hesitant to say that, but will it be played up to be good as like a college game day pregame narrative thing where they interview him and the sad music plays and we're like, where's Tom Rinaldi? Yes, it will be like that. But I just can't see anybody toppling that 2019 LSU offense this quickly. So I think you're right, though. I think he does have the potential to be something very special. But at the same time, I'm not going to totally put all the chips in the middle of the table just yet. Not just yet.
Well, I feel like that would be a little fair to it. I'm just saying, like, we've seen this narrative before.
Yeah,
if he does well, the comparison is going to be made. No, it's completely unfair to actually say Jack Miller is going to be Joe Burrow. There was only one Joe Burrow. I mean, Joe Burrow had the greatest season in college football history. In my opinion, that 2019 LSU team is not just the greatest offense we've ever seen. They're the best team we've ever seen. I mean, I would put them above the 01 Miami Hurricanes. I'd put them above the 95 Nebraska team. So that's just how I feel about them. But no, I from a narrative standpoint, we're going to see that if this does happen.
Yeah,
but of course, he's got to win the job first.
Yeah.
And so I mean, there's that. But those are the quarterback battles I was looking out for. Of course, another narrative because of everything that's been going on in the transfer portal last several years. Of course, another big story. We get our first look at the key transfers for each program. So Matt, were there any transfers that you were wanting to particularly look at before we get into it?
Well, it's funny you talk about. I was prepared to talk about the other angle of the transfer portal, but I think we're going to get to that in a minute because of a certain coach and a certain Pac-12 school that we've already talked about.
Oh, we're going to
But
get to that.
I'm going to say though, USC, they looked really good on the backs of the transfers they brought in on defense. I was very impressed with the way they looked. It looks like USC. They have, especially that guy, the kid who transferred from Arizona, looked really good on the defensive line. I'm very impressed with the way he played. USC is gonna, I think, with the help they're getting from the transfer portal, they've already gotten, and what's coming in, which we're gonna cover. In addition to guys like Joey Covington playing in the cornerback position, USC's defense on the back of its transfers, it looks like we're gonna see a really, really good team elevate to the great level very quickly, and I'm very excited for that. I mean, the one probably always we said about it every year, said about USC throughout last year, is that we just weren't sure if that defense could hold. And sure enough, in the key moments, they didn't hold.
No.
Twice Utah just came back and it was a massacre, for lack of a better term. They just looked outmanned, and Caleb Williams was running for his life. It was crazy. So I mean, I like what they have on that defensive line now. Um, it's going to be really exciting to see what they do. And now, they have. Well, I guess we can just go ahead and talk about it. But they had. I think they won the most because of who they've got coming in. I mean, when they get Bear Alexander coming in like that out of nowhere
I was
from
waiting.
Georgia,
I was waiting for you to say it.
I was trying to let you dance around it first for a minute, but I guess we can just go ahead and address it. Their defense looks much improved. They've already got a couple transfers, and now you're adding in Bear Alexander, who hasn't even played a snap yet on that defensive line, which has already got some pretty darn good depth on it. They're going to be really good. I mean, this is going to be a better team than last year's teams. I mean, just looking at those guys go, I mean, it's going to be a better team than last year. That's the one thing I know about. I'm willing to say for sure about USC is that I know that they're going to be better. Their defensive guys were much better than I expected, and they've got another big profile transfer coming in even after that. So I'm going to let you take it now, and we'll see if you agree with me or if I'm full of crap.
No, I agree 100%. I was watching them, and of course, my big question mark was about that defense. How's that defense going to look? Because we know under a Lincoln Riley coach team, that offense is going to score. It doesn't matter if Caleb Williams came back or not. They were going to score the ball. But the question is, could they even stop a middle school team? And like you said, in key points last year, they couldn't. I mean, Utah ran it down their throat at just random times, or at too many times for them to get past them in the Pac-12 championship games and even in the regular season game. But now it's almost like the first year of the Lincoln Riley era, they sold the house on offensive players. Now they sold the house on the defensive side of the ball. Like the guy from Arizona you're talking about on the defensive line that looked really good. I was really big on the Mason Cobb transfer because, just happened to play against him in Oklahoma State for the last several years. But, of course, we didn't even get to see Bear Alexander because he decided to transfer after the spring game. I'm going to be completely honest. This is the type of move that puts USC over the top and will put them in the college football playoff, if not potentially win the national championship. This is the type of move this is.
Yeah, that's just how good it is. And like you said, the Mason Cobb move, that's just impressive to begin with. So I'm very excited to see what they're going to do. I mean, I can't imagine a world where USC isn't going to be in that playoff. I'm just going to be honest with you. I think they're that damn good. I really do. I mean, the guy I was thinking of, a dude from Plainfield they got, Jack Sullivan, which was at Purdue,
Yes.
comes into USC. He looked really good too. I mean, they went from having absolutely no depth on that defense to being one of the deepest teams in the Pac-12, probably on the West Coast. So, I mean, that's a big one for me. I mean, it's just a good example of how the transfer portal has changed college football. And I don't know if we want to transition to another topic here, or if you want to throw this under the next topic. But I feel like
I know what you're. Yeah, I know what you're willing to.
Where I'm heading because we're talking about high-profile transfers.
Yeah, I'm gonna lead into that. I got you.
Right,
We're gonna lead right into it. I'm just going to say that I want to give a special shout out to Sam Hartman, the transfer quarterback for Notre Dame, because I was watching their spring game and
Yeah,
he
looked
looks really good. And of course, I'm going to shout out A.D. Mitchell at Texas because, bro, let me tell you, he looks like the best receiver on the roster. And that is a roster that has an all Big 12 receiver in Xavier Worthy. A.D.
Yep.
Mitchell is going to be a stud, and it's crazy. But yeah, I had to shout that out. But of course, the next segment that I'm going to lead into, oh so undiscreetly, is that not only does it give us a first chance to look at our transfers, it also gives us a chance to look at coaches that are in their first season with their respective teams. And what I mean by that is Colorado, because that's the team that everyone is watching. I mean, I know you saw the viral video of how empty their spring game was the year before, and then they sold out this year.
45,000 people plus.
Yes. And that's all because of Coach Prime. And they showed up in the snow. They showed up in the snow.
Yep.
But Matt, I'm gonna let you, I know you've been wanting to get up. I know you've been wanting to hop in there. What you got to say about it?
Les, I'm just gonna say something. This is why you bring in Deion Sanders. I'm just gonna run through a number here really quick. The attendance at Colorado's spring game surpasses the aggregate total of the last 9 spring games combined, which means if you take the past 9 years and you added them all up in terms of people who went to the Colorado spring game, you wouldn't hit the number that they hit this year with 45,000 plus people. It's only slightly smaller than the biggest 3 spring games that they've had in the history of Colorado athletics, including the one after they won the national championship game. After they won the national championship, there wasn't a game back then. They were one of the 2 spring games that was broadcasted by an ESPN network. In fact, they got to be on ESPN, and even Georgia, the defending 2-time national champion, was on ESPN2. 45,000 plus people, and Deion Sanders shows up in a cowboy hat. Shedeur Sanders looks great. Travis Hunter looks great. And their defense looks like absolute crap. Where have we seen this before, huh? A hotshot coach with a really good quarterback and an explosive offense and a crappy defense? I think it was USC last year, wasn't it? Huh?
I was gonna say, yeah, look no further than last year.
And they made it pretty far, I think. They made it all the way to the Pac-12 championship game before they finally met a team that was a little bit more tough, a little bit more veteran, and then it was over for them. But and that's a huge victory in terms of Colorado football, in terms of Pac-12 football, a conference that's struggling right now in the midst of expansion and everything going on to maintain its relevancy. That a team that's usually a bottom feeder, 1-11 last year, because of a coach, just drew, like you said, in the snow, drew over 45,000 people to their spring game, and have 2 superstars in Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders, who looked absolutely amazing out there. Now, the thing is, too, with Colorado, though, Les, I think today alone, they've had 13 guys enter the transfer portal over the past weekend or so. And it does bode the question of what does that mean this late in the year? Are these guys who are from last year's regime who are starting to head out in favor of the guys Coach Deion Sanders is talking about bringing in? Who are these guys? And how much roster turnover will affect them going forward? Because I'm not going to lie, Colorado has a tougher schedule this year than USC did last year, and that's saying something. And if they don't get that figured out, it could be a bit of a rough ride for Colorado. We really like them. We like Coach Prime, but let's be honest here. I wouldn't be surprised if at one point this team was like 2-5, just because of like the tough schedule they play and as much overhaul as they're having right now. But this spring game is a great example of why you just bring in the best guy available and throw money at them. Because if you do, you have 45,000 people at a spring game, and you've got unmitigated hype on your side. And now all they have to do is at least be, passable as a football team, and they'll back that up.
So here's the thing, though. You said they could. Don't be surprised if at one point they go 2-5. Here's the thing. That's already another win more than last season. They're already headed in the right direction.
Yep.
So, I know there's going to be a lot of hype surrounding Deion Sanders and Deion Sanders' regime at Colorado. I get that. But here's the thing. People have to remember that these things usually do take time.
Yes,
and
they
even
do.
And taking over a program that went 1-11 last year was probably considered the worst Power 5 job you could have. it's not going to be fixed overnight, no matter how many transfers he brings in.
No.
Yes, 13 have entered the transfer portal as of today, but of course, you got to remember he's got 30 that entered from the transfer portal already, and more could still be added. And I think that's a big reason why they're leaving is because more is about to come in. Outside of the receiver, Montana Lamonius Craig, I'm sorry if I butchered his name. That one was the one that was surprising me because the other guys, they were more guys that were on the team before Coach Brown got there and knew that they're probably not going to get any chance to play now. Yeah. But he was the one that surprised me because he had a very monster spring game. He had 3 catches for 154 yards and 2 touchdowns. Yeah, he had an amazing game. So I think that has more to do with the fact that it's going to still be a very loaded receiver room, and I think just he wants his opportunity to be a more wide receiver one somewhere else because he showed that he has that type of capability. I think that's more anything what that's about. But the overall thing is people just have to remember that Colorado's still headed in the right direction, whether people want to see that or not. And the thing is, I said this when he was at Jackson State. Shedeur Sanders, a lot of people called me crazy. Shedeur Sanders, I said last year at Jackson State, I would take him over several top-tier Division I Power 5 quarterbacks. I thought he was a top 5 quarterback last year, and now he's going to finally get a chance to prove it this year. And I think he looks every bit as good. So, yeah, I think it's really exciting to really see what Colorado is going to do this year. But again, people have to remember, even with all the hype, if they win 2-3 games, that's still an improvement. Yep. Hell, if they make a bowl game, that's amazing.
And if they do anything near what USC did last year, that's going to be like a monstrous W, as they say.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so I know Matt could not wait to talk about Colorado because that's the team we all wanted to see. Let's be honest.
Regardless if they're bad, good, indifferent, or 500, they're going to be interesting to watch, and that's what makes it fun, especially at the college level.
I mean, and like Coach Prom said when he first took the job, I mean, hey, if you here and you ain't a part of it, I mean, go ahead and hit that portal because I got bags coming and they all Louis, right? So I think that's why a big reason why the 13 players, a lot of people on Twitter are actually criticizing it, already saying I'm ready for the downfall before it's even happened. I think this is more of a sign of who all is coming in.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping too. Well, I said I didn't watch much of the spring football games, but I did find some things really interesting about it about this weekend in terms of spring games because there are just some things you can do this weekend that you can't do at other weekends, or sometimes weirdly symbolic things happen. So I wrote down 5 things that I saw from this weekend that I thought were really cool.
All right, so we got about 5 minutes. Yeah, speed round.
Oh, this is going to be cool. This won't take long. Wisconsin plays their spring football game in the middle of a snowstorm, and the defense comes away with 5 interceptions. Pretty darn good for Wisconsin. But nothing says spring game in Wisconsin like playing in a blizzard in negative 20-degree weather. So didn't really get the spring part, got the football part, can't really complain.
And Luke Fickell got his defense.
Yeah, he definitely does. Auburn. Their coach issued a steak hot dog challenge where the winning team got steak and the losing team got hot dogs. To which I say, is there really a loser?
No.
You either get steak or hot dogs. That's pretty good. From a more sentimental angle, this weekend, Iowa State revealed their uniforms to honor Jack Trice, the first black player in their program's history at Jack Trice Stadium. I think that's a very fitting tribute, and those uniforms actually look not surprisingly, they look amazingly badass. Number 2, Archie Griffin, Ohio State legend, 2-time Heisman Trophy winner, shows up at the game and scores a 20-yard touchdown. Well, he wasn't really tackled or hustled or anything. But still, seeing Archie Griffin out there, always good to see. 20-yard touchdown for him in Ohio State spring game. And at number 1, University of Virginia running back Mike Hollins returns after that horrible shooting that occurred on campus there last year and scores a 1-yard touchdown in the Virginia spring game. Just a tearful moment, just a great moment for that young man. Very excited to see that happen, and it's just uplifting when you see something like that. So those are my top 5 moments there. Some sentimental, some funny, some just flat out interesting. But that's just one of those things you could do at the spring game that maybe you can't afford to do when you're playing the Citadel in week 1. I'm talking to you, SEC.
I'm talking to you, Alabama, which surprisingly, Alabama did not look that good either. I'm going to be completely honest.
Well, Nick Saban's not going to answer any questions. He's not going
No, it's
to.
not.
So quit asking.
We're not, yeah, exactly. And of course, what I love the best, even almost as much as Matt's 5 list, is that Oklahoma also does not look very good. What's really scary, that defense looks terrible. And what's even really more concerning about that is that Brent Venables is a defensive coach first.
Yeah, I did see a couple highlights of that, and it is just shocking how Brent Venables is kind of. I don't want to say anything yet because we don't pray for anybody's downfall on here or anything.
No.
It's surprising to me how he's kind of fallen on his face just that quickly.
If you remember correctly, I was never a fan of this move to begin with.
Yeah, I know.
And I said his aspirations were the best defensive coordinator in college football.
And here's the thing, and the thing is too, with the SEC move being pretty much imminent, it's this year. If you don't prove it, are they just going to go ahead and find another guy so they're ready to compete in the SEC? This is a very short fuse type of year.
That might be a question we might have to ask the listeners. Too bad we couldn't do it on a poll. Thanks, Twitter. But anyways,
polls, and they're not as fun though.
No, that's not the same. It's not the same.
It's not the same, man.
It's not. Sad world we live in. Well, anyways, that about wraps up the show. As always, like and subscribe to Less is More Sports YouTube and Spotify channel. In the comment sections below, tell us what you liked, what you didn't like. And of course, subscribe to like and follow. I almost messed up there. Like and follow our social media pages on Facebook and Twitter. That was a fun episode, but I think we'll be back next week with an episode Matt will enjoy even more because he didn't. This was so painful for him to talk about this for the last 40 minutes. I could just tell.
I tried.
Like, no.
It's just hard. I tried my best, but spring football, like I said, it's just one of those things where I just can't get into it, man. I just can't. It doesn't matter if it's the USFL or the XFL or college football. I gotta feel that fall breeze, man. I gotta get in the zone.
I understand that. I feel like a lot of people share that same opinion.
But anyways, football mode,
Tell us what you thought of the spring games. Tell us how your teams looked. And without further ado, Matt and I are officially out.
See you next week.